An interesting and hilarious thing's rolled out in Paraguay over the past few weeks I wanted to share with you. A few weeks ago, I started to notice that there were invitations on various social media sites to Therian related events. Therian or therianthropy is a phenomenon of people truly thinking that they're an animal. So much so that they will put on a mask and make the movements and sound associated with that animal. It's not merely role play. Therians truly believe that they have some sort of intimate connection to the extent that they, at least in part, identify with a dog, a cat, an octopus, a turtle, whatever. So these events were planned right throughout the country. And if we were to believe the story, it was a group that originated from Argentina who had come here to organise these events. And it was a pretty slick operation. It was complete with flyers and an itinerary, and they were going right around various parts of the country on a Therian roadshow. There was one planned in Encarnacion, one in Asuncion, I believe one in Carcupe, and others. So as time went on, initially the posts that contained the invitations were met with a high degree of jocularity. The people responding overwhelmingly seemed to think that it was a joke, and the responses were accordingly. People were posting buckets full of stones, or they were going to bring along their slingshot or their whip. All sorts of funny responses. And I really think it was because people were just taking it as a joke. In Paraguay, most people thought this can't be for real. But as the days went on and the posts continued, it dawned on many people that no, this is for real. These people really are going to run these events. And they're inviting, particularly our children, to partake and get involved. What was also quite telling was that in a lot of the threads, there were certain commenters that were cutting and pasting the same comments, always under anonymous accounts, of course. And it was along the lines of, oh my goodness, where can I get involved? Where can I get a mask? My children are so excited about this event. We're so glad that we can now be out there about our Therian proclivities. So as all of this transpired, I think a lot of the people in Paraguay became really concerned. And so the comments reflected that. And more you were seeing comments that were just plainly resisting these events. So much so that it got to the point where the main event, which was planned in Encarnacion, has been either postponed or cancelled. And so it looks like therianthropy has hit a bit of a brick wall here in Paraguay, at least for the time being. And what's also really interesting is that as quickly as the movement sprouted here in Paraguay, as soon as it met any genuine resistance, it went away just as quickly. It scrubbed all of its videos. There's no spokesperson here who's coming out and being identifiable and contactable about this. Completely anonymous. And I think that that's more typical of a movement that never really was. I don't really think that it was a genuine desire from Paraguayans to reclaim their Therian roots. I think it was just a concocted exercise that met its match. If someone wants to identify as a dog or cat or octopus, who is it for me to say? I personally think just to be safe, they should go to their nearest vet or animal behaviour psychologist just to confirm their suspicions about their identity. But apart from that, go for gold. That's not my point. My point is that I think what we saw here was a movement that had an agenda, because we've seen it roll out in all the other countries that I've lived in. I remember when I saw this rolled out and other associated phenomena in New Zealand, initially most of us greeted it with the same jocularity because of course it was a joke, wasn't it? But no, after a brief amount of time, we realised, yeah, they're serious. But in those countries, for the most part, people just went along to get along. Movements sprouted and then solidified. And one of the places that I lived in New Zealand, they've got a whole section in their council that's ratepayer funded, that is devoted to supporting all sorts of concocted phenomena like therians and others. But not so here in Paraguay. Paraguayans have a demonstrated capacity to see through the BS. And when they see through it, they have no resistance or hesitation in expressing their views. In this case, they have come out and overwhelmingly kicked it to the curb. They've seen through it for what it is. It's not for real. This whole thing, this movement, as far as I've been able to ascertain, it was concocted in the early 90s. Came from some weird thread, of course anonymous, online, and it was repeated a number of times in various platforms, and then spontaneously, somehow, a portion of humanity realised that they had Therian tendencies. If you buy that, well, I've got a section on the moon that you might be interested in. No, the reality is it was just invented. It was just a concoction, I think with some agendas attached to it. And there's various reasons why that may be. I wonder whether these sort of things are just sent to us to test us in part, but also perhaps it's a way to just get a wedge into our sense of reality. Because once we're disconnected from just one aspect of reality, then the door's open for us to then be open to disconnecting ourselves from other points of reality. If I can be a dog today, well, I can be a computer tomorrow. And anyone that thinks that's just kind of fanciful needs to read up on what's going on with the whole transhuman thing, because perhaps there are some threads that connect. The Therian movement emanates from another movement called Otherkin, and that's a whole different rabbit hole right there. But one thing's for sure, that these movements are without question or debate concocted and introduced to countries by anonymous groups, and it's up to each and every country as to how they respond to them. But I am so proud that I am a resident in a country where the people have the fortitude and guts to stand up to something that they see as just patently absurd, because Paraguayans have a real sense of right and wrong. And they also have an appreciation for the longer term consequences of going along with certain dogmas and agendas that don't align with reality. I think that what's happened here is extraordinary. I think that we've seen a movement that has swept many other countries and taken root, but in this country it's just been plainly rejected. So if anyone asks me why I think Paraguay is well placed for the future, apart from the economic realities, it's a young country, it has a robust constitution. I think the most valuable aspect of Paraguay in respect to its resilience for what's to come is its capacity to stand up in the face of what they can see is right and what they can see is wrong. And they've demonstrated that many times. And in this case, it's been patently on display. I am so pleased that Paraguay has sent a clear message to the entities that are behind this phenomenon, and no doubt many others to come. And they just may give them reason to pause when they come up with the next big thing, because, hey, it might be easy to implement these things in other places, but Paraguay is made of different stuff, in my opinion, and so long may it continue. And of course, to all those Therians out there, I wish you well. Woof, woof, meow, rah, rah, whatever you are, knock yourself out. Just don't expect everyone to go along with it, because just like you, everyone's got their right to their opinion. And so long may it continue. So until next time, take care. Ciao.
D.O.G. is my BFF. D.O.G. is my BFF. Clap your hands if you love your dog. Stomp your feet if you love your dog. Clap your hands, stomp your feet, say yahoo if you love your dog.